Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. I'm excited that we are connecting. I love to begin my interviews with you sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yes, my name is Afshan. I am the founder of a company called Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. And you can find us at www.pregnancySafeCosmetics.com. Our Instagram handle is at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. And our Facebook is a little bit more complicated, but you can get to it from our website. And so if you want to know more about the company after you get done listening to me, or if you had to leave listening, I would say go there. Now, what my company does, we have two main missions. One is to educate the general public about what is safe and what is not safe in terms of cosmetics. And when I say cosmetics, I don't really mean just makeup. I mean makeup, hair care, bath care, skin care, fragrance. I mean anything you put on your body that you buy as a product. We want to educate the population of women who are trying to conceive or are pregnant or are nursing their infants with breast milk, or even if they're not breastfeeding, but they're pumping, giving away their milk, putting it in a bottle. These are the women who are affected and who need to be informed about what is in our cosmetics. And when I say cosmetics, I mean all these products, not just synthetic personal care products and bath care, but also organic ones, because there are a lot of ingredients, even organic ingredients, that are really harmful to a pregnancy, harmful to conception efforts. They block embryo implantation, and they're harmful to infants who are nursing. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. If you're someone who is not at a stage in life or that wants to get pregnant and you think this is not so important for you, I would say hang on, listen up for a little bit, because what we're going to be talking about today are ingredients that disrupt your hormones. And the hormones are basically the pillars of your immune system. They hold your immune system in place. But anytime the hormones get disrupted, eventually, not right away, but eventually your immune system will start to get disrupted. And then you'll be put on that path of autoimmune disease. So I'll be talking about that a little bit as well later in the podcast. And that's kind of the main mission of our company, is to educate, and then of course to provide products that are pregnancy safe, because most products out there are not pregnancy safe. Even the organic beauty brands like Beauty Counter, which is $1 billion beauty brand, or Typology, they're almost all 100% organic or 95% organic, and yet they don't really do the checks for pregnancy. There's a lot of these ingredients, they're not toxic to the point of killing you. So the FDA is not going to regulate it. They're not going to consider it really harmful. They're going to say it's safe, but it's not safe to an embryo or a fetus or, a nursing infant. So that's what it is.
Perfect. So obviously you have your own personal story that's led you to this work. So I would love for you to just take us back on your journey to motherhood and share with us what led you to doing the work that you do.
Sure. I mean, I got pregnant very late in life. And I had a lot of problems with hormones. I had a lot of problem with, had a thyroid issue. I had endometriosis. I had a lot of I had high prolactin, but I didn't have a pituitary tumor. I had a lot of unexplained, hormonal imbalances. And that should have, if I had been educated about hormone disruptors in our environment, I would have said, oh, maybe this is happening because of the stuff in our environment, and the personal care products. And also we have hormone disruptors in virtually everything. But so I had a lot of problems with those. At some point, I started being evaluated by a reproductive endocrinologist and OBGYN. And, they put me on a lot of different medications, and I still really didn't, it didn't happen for me. So at that point, I went on paleo diet And I decided to go organic with my food, with everything. And I did try a couple of different things to kind of, because I had all of these hormone issues, I started, for years, I started down the path of autoimmune issues as well. I had a lot of food intolerances, a lot of food allergies, which is indicative of an overactive immune system, because food is not something your body should be allergic to. So it means your immune system is reacting to something that you should be able to, handle as if it's a foreign substance and causing inflammation. Well, inflammation blocks embryo implantation. You don't want anything that inflames you. So I had to be put on a lot of medication that lowered the inflammation. Finally, I did get pregnant. And at that point, honestly, I was doing great, I thought. The only source of, I mean, I didn't own a toaster. I didn't fry anything on a frying pan. Everything I made was fresh and organic. I shopped exclusively from organic, food sources. I didn't have any plastic in my kitchen. And I had switched to 100% organic cosmetics. And still, my daughter was born very early, 30 weeks, 2 pounds, 8 ounces. She had to be fed intravenously in the veins, lipids and glucose, because she was so tiny. She lost the 8 ounces. They had to cut me 2 ways, not a C-section, but a T-section like this. And they told me I could never have another child unless I, had another CT section at 36 weeks, because my stomach would explode beyond 36 weeks. It was a big deal. She was in the hospital for 2 months next to 5-pound babies who were having trouble because they came in the same time as she did. They were having their issues with their heart, with their breathing, with their gastric system, couldn't hold anything down when they were. And I didn't know if she would make it. It was just such an incredible 2 months, watching her, hoping, praying, was just really, really hard going through that. I lost everything afterwards. I finally took her home at 5 pounds, but I was visiting my mom in California, which was good and bad because I was living in France. And what happened was I decided to visit my mother, and I had to have a sonogram done. So I did the sonogram, and the doctor said, well, something is wrong here. It looks like your baby's coming in really small. Was she always small? And I said, no, it's always at 50%. And they said, we want to have you do another sonogram soon. And before I did that other sonogram, I wanted to get in like a commercial one. So I went in to a place around here in Northern California that did a 3D sonogram. And they said, well, the lady who did it said, wait a second, I used to work at Alta Bates and I'm a professional sonographer, but there's something not right. When is your due date? No. I want you to take this. I'll give you everything you want for the commercial, the pictures and the little, cute little teddy bear with the heartbeat. But I want you to take this piece of paper and give it to your OBGYN right now, today. And I took a picture of it and I snapped it to my OBGYN, which was actually my mother's friend, because my family, everyone's a physician in my family. And my OBGYN was back in France. But anyway, she looked at it and said, I'm going to send you to emergency room tomorrow morning, and I want you to go and have them be evaluated by a professional, super high risk doctor. So they evaluated me and they hospitalized me and they said, you're going to stay. And that was the end of June. And I was like, but she's due in September. And they're like, we don't know when she's going to be born, but we don't think she'll make it till then. And she came July 13th. And so that was my story. And now when I was pregnant and in the hospital, I took out my nice big bottle of essential oils mix that I had from neck to toe every time I took a bath, every time I took a shower. Not really bath, but shower. I just kind of put all over my body because I didn't want the stretch marks and I wanted to feel good and it smelled so nice and 100% organic. It's only essential oils. And I thought, hey, it can't be bad. Everyone says essential oils is good. And I put it out on the table and the doctor comes in and he's from Spain. In Europe, they all know about essential oils, but I didn't know about it because I don't know. I'm not a doctor in Spain, and I don't know that many doctors in Europe. So I kind of just put it out on the table, and he said, "What is that?" And I said, "Is that essential oils?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And I unscrewed it for him, and I gave it to him, and I was like, "Smell it. It's great. I only use organic." And he looked at me, and he said, "No, no, don't use that. Put that away and don't use it." And he was so firm, but he didn't want to like upset me or anything. So, I could tell he wasn't going to tell me. I'm coming from a physician family. I knew that look. And I said, note to myself, I got to check this out. Why is he flipping out about essential oils? Well, anyway, it took some time for me to figure it out. But 2017 was when my daughter was born. And 2017 was the year that the book by reproductive epidemiologist Shauna Swan came out. She did a 40-year-long study that started in the 1970s and ended in 2011 on endocrine disrupting chemicals. These are chemicals that are found everywhere in our environment, but they're also found in personal care products. They're parabens, phthalates, bisphenols, and basically a lot of them they make plastics hard or soft. And so you'll find bisphenols in your bras. You'll find bisphenols not just in like your plastic cups, but everywhere in the environment. Parabens you find in your cosmetics. They're mostly used to preserve the cosmetics so they don't go bad. Phthalates, they make everything soft, the plastic soft. So they'll be in your conditioners. They're great for delivering fragrance into your body. So that anything that's like has a fragrance in it, it'll have phthalates in it. I would say 75% of cosmetics out there have phthalates in it, if not more. They're also in all your lotions. We think that argan oil and coconut butter are the things that make our hair soft with the conditioner. Not at all. It's a phthalates. So these things are what they call endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, and they disrupt your hormones. And they're everywhere. But the studies have shown that the most effective and efficient and quick way of getting them out of your system is to change your personal care products. Personal care products is the gam of products that includes makeup, beauty, anything, hair care, skin care, your lotions, your facial cleansers, your soaps, fragrance, your perfumes, just anything at all that has to go on your skin is called a personal care product, or a PCP. Changing that is the most efficient way. And this is important for people to understand, because most people I talk to say, well, I could get the plastics out of my kitchen. And that actually doesn't really work according to the studies. It makes a difference, but not that big of a difference. And the reason why is because for plastics to make be problematic to you, you have to A, put food in the plastic container, B, heat up the food with the plastic container. So the plastic is hot, the food is hot, and then let it sit and let the bad stuff that's, in the plastic container leach into the food, and then you have to consume it. Many steps to take. If you take a plastic container and throw some cold water in it, drink it right away, I'm not sure you get anything. I'm not saying I haven't seen a study that actually measures it, so I could be wrong, but I do know that there are many steps that need to be taken. The minute you put something on your skin, that's it. It's in you. And how do we know this? Now, everyone asks me, how do we know this? Because they've measured, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, which is a big deal. It's a national organization, has measured phthalates, parabens, bisphenols, essential oils. Essential oils is a new class of endocrine disruptors emerging since 2018. And I'll be talking about that in a minute. Anything that disrupts your hormones, the CDC is studying it, has been studying it. And they found it in urine, blood, and breast milk. So they have tested everyone, children, infants, mothers, single women, single men, and they've tested it all, and they found it ubiquitously, I mean, everywhere. The other thing that they've been doing actually recently, they've been testing different groups. And there are a few key findings from testing these groups, because they want to know who is most exposed. Of course, in the same household where the plastics are the same, the eating utensils are the same, everything's the same, the people that are most exposed are the women, because they use more personal care products. So we know it's coming in from the personal care products. And a lot of people say, no, but how do we know it's coming in from makeup? It's just a little bit of powder. It's just a little bit of this. We know that it's really coming in from there because the CDC has tested it. We know that women have more exposure than men, and men have more exposure than children. And, we know that. Babies actually have quite a bit of exposure if they're breastfed, because it comes in through the milk. So we know this. Another thing to note is the group that's most affected by the exposure are African American women. And then second group after that are Hispanic women. This is important. Why? Because these chemicals that I've been talking about are endocrine disrupting. And what they do a lot of things, but the three big ones is they cause miscarriage. And I'm going to tell you why they cause miscarriage. And, they cause miscarriage. African American community is the highest exposed to these of all of the people in the United States. African American women are the highest exposed. And also they have the highest rates of miscarriage. So this is an important, an important subject that needs to be talked about. It needs to be disseminated in terms of information, because at the end of the day, a woman cannot make an informed choice if she doesn't know. How can you expect someone to make a choice if she doesn't know that there are options? There's something without endocrine disrupting chemicals, and there's something with endocrine disrupting chemicals, and which one do you want to choose? So this is a really big deal. So one of the things they do is these chemicals, they cause miscarriage. Another thing that they do is they cause birth defects. And the third thing that they do is they drop sperm counts. So anyone, that's trying to conceive and has a problem with the man, the male in the couple, and the sperm counts or their sperm motility, this is something to think about. Now, in order to explain why they're not regulated and why they make all of these horrible effects, you have to understand that everything in pregnancy and in trying to conceive has to do with, when you're trying to conceive, when you're pregnant, it's all about the hormones. If the hormones are not right, the embryo won't implant. So another thing that these chemicals do is they block embryo implantation. So, if you fiddle with your hormones just a little bit, you think, oh, little changes can't make a difference, but they do. Now, the research shows that they block embryo implantation. The research shows that when it comes to carrying a boy, the sexual development doesn't develop right. And so at some point, the body recognizes that this is not developing correctly, and it rejects the baby. So not only do we know that it causes miscarriage, but we know that the rates of miscarriage for boys are much higher. And it's not just happening in humans. When we wash away the products into our water and it goes into the water, it's happening with fish, it's happening with alligators, it's happening with any kind of animal that's living in the water or is exposed to these things in the water. The male, males in many species are starting to be born at lower rates. The other thing it does is it reduces sperm count. Now, so how much does it reduce sperm count, and should we be worried? In 1971, Shauna Swan looked at the evidence. That was, I think, 10, 15, maybe 20 years of evidence, and she said, this can't be right. Something must be wrong. The studies are here and there, but no one's done a proper 40-year study. And I'm wondering if it's really as bad as all this. And she basically looked at, what was happening with the sperm counts. And she decided that she would try to tweak the numbers and get a different result. No matter how she tweaked the numbers, she could not get a different result. she decided she wanted to do a 40-year study on humans, not on rats, not on chickens, not on anything else, humans. So she followed a huge, I mean, thousands and thousands of population. It wasn't a small 8-person study or 40. It was like, I don't know, so many thousands. I read one, and she did, there were control groups, there were cohorts, there were studies over many 40 years, and she tracked the decrease in sperm count. It decreased 1% a year every year. Started at 97 million sperm per milliliter. Milliliter is this small. And it ended up in 2011 at 47 million per milliliter. That's half. So today's, in 2011, the man having, the average sperm count for a man was half of what he had 40 years ago of his grandfather. Then she says this is really huge, because if it keeps dropping every year from 2011 to 2019, we'd be at 40, which we probably are lower than 40 now, which is significant because the World Health Organization says lower than 40 million per milliliter, every couple will have trouble getting pregnant. So it's a huge thing. Couples are having trouble getting pregnant. We were 1 in 8. Now we were 1 in 6 in 2011. Who knows where we are now? 1 in 4? I don't know. So the sperm count thing is a big thing. She had noticed the data on miscarriages, and that there was an increase in miscarriages almost in every population where the exposure was high. And then she went and found a town where some of these chemicals were really produced in like massive amounts. And when they're produced in massive amounts, they get into the air. So not only are we getting them from our environment in here, now we're breathing them in. And it's just, and she tracked that, and there were hardly any boys being born. They were all girls. Everyone was girl, 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 because everyone was miscarrying the boys. So this was a major finding. And then she also, wanted to see what else was going on. She found that the boys that were being born had something where their the anal genital distance was small, and then when they'd go into toddlerhood, their testicles would not drop, and then later they would develop testicular cancer and also become infertile. And this data was so strong that the medical community has now called that birth defect the phthalate syndrome. They named it after the chemical that caused it. The phthalate is one of these EDCs, these hormone endocrine disrupting chemicals. So it's really a big bad thing. I mean, and again, the studies have shown that the quickest way of getting it out of your system is to change your beauty products. Now you might say, what about organic? Or if these are all synthetic, right? What about organic? Well, Shauna Swan finished her studies in 2011. It took a little while, as you know, to put it all together and write the book and publish the book. It came out in 2017. And BBC covered it. ABC News covered it. The documentary Canadian Public Broadcasting Channel covered it in a 40-minute documentary that's actually listed on my website. If you go to pregnancySafeCosmetics.com, click on the medical studies tab, click on document, I think it's called doctor's testimonies, and go to the last video link. You can watch the 40-minute documentary. And so the media was abuzz with what is an endocrine disrupting chemical. And out comes the Society for North American Endocrinologists. They have an annual meeting every year, and they had their 100th annual meeting in Chicago in 2018. And they thought this was an opportune time to bring to light something that they've been noticing and they've been researching, which is essential oils. They basically made a big, huge statement saying that they believe essential oils are also endocrine disrupting ingredients. They're not chemicals, they're ingredients, they're organic, but they believe they're endocrine disrupting. Well, there was, of course, a big, major pushback and calls for further research. So the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences decided that they would research this phenomenon. And when it comes to the research studies, you have to be very careful, because there was also a company that engaged in essential oils that did a research study. And all they did is they took a small cohort of, like, I don't know, 20 kids or something that used these essential oils, and 20 kids that didn't, and said, oh, you know, there was no difference in these kids. But the reason why the endocrinologists, the North American Society of Endocrinologists, that means all of the hormone doctors in Canada and America, got together and said, look, we've noticed the reason why we think that essential oils are a problem is because we've noticed that prepubescent boys under the age of 13, are sprouting breasts. And we believe it's linked to lavender and tea tree essential oil. Now, this is huge, because boys under the age of 13 don't use a lot of product. They basically wash their face, shampoo their hair. Maybe, I doubt they use conditioner. I mean, how much product? They don't use, what do they don't even bathe a lot. They don't use deodorant. And so it's really in small concentrations that this is happening, because of very little product, little concentrations that it's happening. So that was their, that was the thing that made everybody look into this and, be like, okay, this big bad problem. We got to look into this. So the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences decided to do a proper study. They weren't going to look at two groups of kids and see, if they had one had a higher rate or another higher rate of breast tissue. What they did is they isolated different components of essential oils, because essential oils are complex. They have different components, and they tested each one for endocrine disrupting activity. And they tested them on rats. And they also tested them for positive, and something, maybe a positive outcome, like an effect on cancer, or essential oils are reported to be, so wonderful, right? They have all these positive effects. So they kind of said, hey, we're going to be non-biased. I'm going to look at the positive and the negative. And the only predominant outcome that came out of the study was that they were all endocrine disrupting. Every single essential oil they studied was endocrine disrupting. And Time magazine, if you go to YouTube and you type in Time magazine essential oils, they did a nice little 7-minute clip on it. You can also type in BBC infertility, and you'll see the thing about sperm counts. This is all well covered by the media. So even though we don't know anything about it, because there's only one story and then it drops out. So, after that, the FDA started getting involved. In 2020, they put together the research consortium. I think it's the Botanical Research Consortium. And they are supposed to be really studying essential oils and herbal extracts and their effects on women, reproduction, and just general health. So that's what they're doing. Unfortunately, when it comes to essential oils, we don't have 40 years or 50 years of medical research yet. We're kind of in the phase that we were with the synthetics before Shauna Swan came along. We need someone like Shauna Swan who comes in and studies essential oils, on thousands of people, 50,000 people or something like that, and over 40 years, to really be able to conclusively, from a medical and scientific standpoint, say essential oils are bad. And that's just, 50 years is just the standard in the medical and research community. We have 50 years of studies on the environment, on the endocrine disrupting chemicals, the synthetic stuff. So finally, people are saying, okay, we've got to switch to, organic makeup, organic personal care products with no phthalates, with no parabens, with no bisphenols. But, it's recent. Beauty Counter got its start. They're the one big company. That's $1 billion company. I think it was started by someone who is affiliated with Martha Stewart in 2013. And they actually sit on the board of a group called the Environmental Working Group, Skin Deep. Skin Deep is this massive database. You can type in any ingredient or any like product, and it'll give you let's say you want to type in Beauty Counter's Ready Lip Duo. You'll type in Ready Lip Duo Beauty Counter, it'll come up, it'll give you the ingredients, and it'll tell you whether it's safe or not. Unfortunately, Beauty Counter sits on their board, helps them figure out what's safe or not, and doesn't think anything organic is a problem. That's a problem for me, because essential oils are a problem. I have personally sat down, because so many people, they email me, they send me messages on Instagram, but what about this? What about this? What about this? And every time, and even in my market research before I started this company, I wanted to know, who is out there that's providing pregnancy safe makeup. And my original desire was to just put up a website with all of the brands that are safe. And I really couldn't find any brands that were safe at all. And I had a really, really hard time finding brands that were safe. So I at late at night, this is what I do. I'm like, okay, let me look at this product, and then go through every single ingredient, and I type it into the PubMed database, which is it's the online library of every medical study that was ever produced in English. It's in there internationally, and I'll go through the entire list of ingredients, and usually there's something. In the Ready Lip Duo, there's something called eugenol. Eugenol, and you have to type in eugenol pregnancy, eugenol endocrine disruption, eugenol fetus, eugenol embryo, because sometimes with the keywords, it doesn't come up right away. You do an extensive search, you find out, oh, eugenol, there's a study saying that it stimulates the pancreas to produce insulin. So it's great if you've got gestational diabetes, but if you don't have gestational diabetes, maybe you shouldn't use it. And it says, pregnant women shouldn't use it in the conclusion. So, I'm like, okay, here's an ingredient. The study says do not use if you're pregnant, and yet it's marked as low toxicity, no toxicity, the product that contains it, on environmental working group Skin Deep. That's a problem for me. There is no certification in the world that exists today that not guarantees, but because you can't guarantee, because today, so X ingredient is considered safe. Tomorrow there's a new study on it, it's not considered safe. So that there's no certification program that kind of exists to look at the list of ingredients and their effects on women who are trying to conceive, women who are pregnant, women who are breastfeeding, and not on the women, but on their children, on their babies, on their fetuses, embryos, nursing infants, conception efforts. I think it's important to call for it, and I think it's important to, at minimum, understand, what it is, what's going on. So I think that's like a major. That's the end of my educational course. So,
this was so good. I think that what a lot of people may not know and may not do is go and understand the research, but you've done all the research and it's on your website. So
yes,
I would love for you to share how people can navigate the website and navigate the research that you've done so that they can, make that informed decision for themselves, because you covered a lot of ground today talking about how each of these play a different role in our hormones and our endo factors, and really how it not only affects us as women, as birthing people, but also our partners as well. And I don't know if people really understand that. So I would love for you to talk about how your website can be a great resource to do that research for themselves.
Sure. So let me talk about my website. So my website is very easy to remember. If you don't find it right away in Google, please just type it into the URL field, because pregnancy safe cosmetics is a catchphrase, and it's written up, and there are 30 million articles on pregnancy safe cosmetics. And so those articles sometimes come up first. Usually if I type it into Yahoo, my website comes up like on the first page, but it's www.pregnancySafeCosmetics, smushed together, all one word, .com. So it's very easy to remember. The one thing I do want to say, as I'm mentioning these articles, those articles that will tell you that here's a list of 30 products or 30 brands that are pregnancy safe, they are not. They're not TTC safe. They're not pregnancy safe. And they are not safe for breastfeeding an infant. You know, I promise you, I have done the research. I have gone through all of those articles, and every single brand or product listed, I have sat down, and I mean, I think I spent years researching this before I decided to go, because I didn't really want to make makeup, to be honest with you. I just wanted to get the information out there, do a good deed, and save many women from having to go through what I went through, because, you know, my hormones were disrupted. And that's another thing I want people to understand, is the hormones are basically the pillars of your immune system. So when you knock them out of, you know, it's like a domino effect. It's like breaking down a house of cards. You can replace the first few cards with medication. You can take a thyroid pill, or take a bromocriptine to lower your prolactin, take a pill to up your thyroid. But it doesn't mean the immune system will fall back into place. It doesn't. It doesn't, because the immune system works on a cellular level. And the cells are in place because all the other things are in place. Once it becomes out of place, it's very hard to get them back into place. And what holds them into place is your hormones. Hormones, and there's studies on this. It's not just my, it's not my idea. It's not something someone said that I think is linked. Actually, studies on, you know, hormones and the immune system, and then hormones, the immune system, and pregnancy, inflammation during pregnancy, autoimmune conditions during pregnancy, during the trying to conceive phase, how inflammation blocks embryo implantation. It's all in there. Everything I say can be backed by multiple studies, you know, I mean, many, not just 2 or 3, but many. So I do want to say that. So you go to www.pregnancySafeCosmetics.com. You will see on the home page, you'll see the homepage, you'll see a shop page. If you want to support this project, please buy something from our shop. That's something you can do. And you'll see a medical studies tab. When you click on the medical studies tab, you get 3 options. One option is to read the studies. So it'll say medical studies. I have not put a ton of medical studies up because there's just so many that it's very hard for me to put it all up on the website. I actually put most of the medical studies, like little summaries of them, up on my Instagram. So if you have an Instagram, follow at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics. Follow at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, and you'll see, you know, from time to time, you know, new studies. I just found a new study that came out this month, or last month, November 2022. That's pretty, it's all about EDCs and effects on women. They've found, and they've kind of done a huge review. So they've taken all the research that was done and summarized it. And this is to say that it's pretty darn conclusive. Everything from endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, you know, reduced, it's called reduced ovarian capacity, you name it, lowered sperm counts, you know, you name it, it's related to EDCs. And here are the many studies that support that. So I'm going to summarize that and put it up on my Instagram, but I won't be able to make the change on my website, because that I only do like once or twice a year, because then it becomes too much to update all the time. So you can click on the studies, medical studies, to read about the medical studies. There's another tab called List of Ingredients to Avoid. And click on that, you'll get all right away the synthetic ingredients. And then on the bottom of that, you'll have, you know, breastfeeding, that's one option. So you click on that and you'll get all the herbs that you and essential oils you should avoid when you're breastfeeding. And then the other tab is if you're pregnant or trying to conceive. You click on that and you'll get all the list of essential oils you should avoid. So there are a list of ingredients to avoid. Then there's a third tab. It's doctors' testimonies. And there you have a number of testimonies by doctors. In the middle, you have an article that you can click into on phthalates. And then at the bottom of that page, there's a nice long 40-minute documentary on endocrine disrupting chemicals. And again, it's on the synthetic stuff. But what I want everyone to understand is ingredients are not problematic because they're synthetic versus organic. They're problematic because they disrupt your hormones. They're endocrine disrupting, which means hormone disrupting. And they can be organic ingredients or synthetic ingredients. We have 50 years of studies on humans when it comes to the synthetic stuff. So of course there's more information, but the studies that we do have on the organic stuff is showing more and more, like every day a new study comes out, and every day it's shown that they do pretty much the same things as the synthetic stuff, just at a more kind of either slower pace or in a milder way. So for example, an synthetic endocrine disrupting chemical will cause miscarriage, but an organic one will cause preeclampsia, fetal growth retardation, a preterm birth. So it won't cause, the infant to stop growing and die in the womb, and the womb to reject it, but it'll kill it off slowly, because my daughter was born because she wasn't growing. And so she came at 30 weeks, and, coming at 30 weeks, it's not easy. So, I mean, someone's going to say, oh, but it's okay. We got the technology for those kids to live. But, she's 5 years old and she has asthma. She she can't run from one block, start a block to the end of block without coughing. She has huge problems. So I would say, you don't want this stuff in your system or your child system. Excuse me, I got allergy.
I agree. I think that I love the work that you're doing, and I love that we are having this hormone conversation, as well as people are starting to think about what they want to do, what they want to change, their goals for 2023, growing their families, trying to conceive again, as we are navigating what this new season is like, as well as how we've navigated through COVID. I think that we're still in COVID, we're still in this flu season, we're still in this RSV season. So as we're starting to learn and do more research about how everything that we do affects our bodies, it definitely plays a role in a lot of the cosmetics, the consumable products that we use every day, not only for our reproductive health, but really our overall health. So I love that this is the work that you're doing. So I would love for you to leave some encouraging words with our listeners, for those who may be going through hormonal issues as they're navigating through their fertility challenges, and they are looking forward to getting pregnant, staying pregnant, bringing a healthy baby home from the hospital in 2023. What encouraging words can you leave with our listeners?
I think the two things I want everyone to hear is don't give up hope, and also advocate for yourself. Don't buy this stuff that says, oh, it's unexplained and there's nothing you can do and it's probably chromosomal and all that stuff. And I do want to say just two things. I'm really thankful that you let me have a chance to talk on this podcast, because a lot of people push back. They say that what I'm saying is horrible because women who have miscarried will just feel guilty if they hear this. And so they don't want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about something that can be done. I believe that it empowers a woman, but I have, personally been on Instagram and seen, women say, oh my God, I've miscarried so many times, or I've had so many, failures, and I now I'm going to go for a surrogate because my body is broken. And I've said, good luck to you. By the way, make sure you use pregnancy safe cosmetics. You can go to my website and learn about it. And I've gotten pushback. I've been like, you are so insensitive. You don't care about maternal health. If you really cared, you wouldn't have said this. And I'm like, this woman has been through a lot. She's been through 6 miscarriages, 8 miscarriages. And you're telling me that she's not going to be heartbroken if, the surrogate surrogacy doesn't work. She had to go through so much to get the eggs out in the first place. I think it's, I want to say, that's the next thing I want to say. I only have 4 products on my website. I am really right now more in the educational effort than I am in the production of products, because I'm a small shop. I'm a boutique firm. We do small batch orders, and what we have on our website is an eyeliner, a brow liner, a mascara, and a 9-shade eye palette. And there are 2 9-shade eye palettes you can choose from. And the reason why I chose the eye stuff is because, again, studies show that it's one of the things that goes right into you, because you're using the eyeliner in there and the mascara, and this stuff, for some reason, the skin is very thin. So it's one of the types of products that right away goes right into you. So I feel like if you switch that to something that's pregnancy safe, it makes a difference. And the other thing is, I got to sell some of it to make the money to make more of it. It's a very long process to get your certifications for it to be safe, to create a new formula. They have to study how it breaks down with their containers for 18 months. It's a long process. So, I do have products. You can support that. The other thing I want to say is, if there's anyone out there that's in maternal health, they are a doula, a lactation consultant, an OBGYN, a reproductive endocrinologist, a podcast like yourself. So we do have a program for maternal health specialists where we give them free information they can put up on their website or on their Instagram for free. I'll come and talk to you on your podcast for free to share this information and education. We also sell at wholesale our products, so you can resell them and gain an added revenue stream. And we are mostly doing, selling our products through maternal health specialists, not really direct to consumer, because we don't have that many products yet, but we hope to add in a lot more next year. So support our project by, tagging us, mentioning our Instagram and our website, by following us. I actually contacted a bunch of online influencers. They refused. They're like, thanks, no thanks. Contacted an agency that helps smaller brands get influencers. They're like, oh, you don't have 3,000 followers. Nobody's going to work for you unless you have that, because you're not credible. I was like, but I've been on all these talk shows. I've been vetted by all these maternal health specialists. Yeah, we don't care. So, follow us, please, because it's going to help me make more of a difference, and do more and bring more products. And definitely, if you're an influencer, if you're someone who has a podcast, reach out to me, because I'm all about getting the word out there. But with all you women trying to conceive, have hope. I tried for 10. Don't let go of that hope. I tried for 10 years before my baby came, and I had to put all the hormones back. Still didn't work. I had to reduce the inflammation by going on paleo. And then it happened for me, but I was slathering myself in essential oils mix that are actually, the essential oils I used were actually directly related to the condition that she had. In research studies, when you type in the name of those essential oils, they are found to slow the growth or retard the growth. And that's exactly what happened with my daughter. So advocate for yourself, stay informed, make small changes, and believe in them. Don't think it's hopeless. That is my message to you.
Love it. So where can we connect with you again? Drop your website and your Instagram handle so we can follow you.
So it's at Pregnancy Safe Cosmetics, all one word. And that's the Instagram. And the website is www.pregnancySafeCosmetics.com. Definitely, if you are, maternal, if you want to buy something, just buy something. We have great gifts. Do understand that we are small batch production, so sometimes it takes a little longer. We just came out, started to do direct to consumer in October. So it's a little slow going right now because we're new, but hopefully we'll have a bunch of new products next year. And And you know, we have a little eye essential eyes kit, comes with a nice beautiful gold bag, a cuff bracelet. um you can choose between Be the Change or Proud Mama, Sexy Mama. We've got mascara, eyeliner, brow liner, 2 palettes to choose from, and it's a part of our Sexy Mamas collection. Next year we'll have a Beautiful Mamas collection, then a little later from that, a Powered Mamas collection. um so definitely follow us, buy something, spread the news, get involved in helping us spread the news. Contact me. We'll work something out. Yeah, for a podcast or providing you products at wholesale or something. There's always a way to get involved.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey and the work that you do. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, and thank you for really for inviting me, and thank you for the work that you do. I I am just in awe of Sisters in Loss. I think you're doing such great work. I know you were, honored by the Biden administration last year. I thought that was just, that's just to show how important your work is. That recognition is so important because, of course, people need to hear all of your stories. I think it's empowering women and to feel that they can do something, that there is hope, and that is so needful, so needful. And so thank you.
Thank you.